Okay, so we'll get started because lightning talks are after this and nobody wants to miss them. So just to start, my name's Lance Wicks. I'm a Perl development team lead at CV Library in the UK. It's a big job board in the UK. When I'm not writing Perl there, I'm a judo coach, and we'll ask you if you know what judo is in a minute. And when I'm not doing that, I'm a member of the IT team for the European Judo Union, which is the governing body for judo in Europe. And when I'm not doing that, I'm an IT team member for the International Judo Federation, which is the global federation for judo. And when I'm not doing that, I'm the administrator for the world ranking list, or one of the world ranking lists for judo. Because, you know, I'm a sucker. Before I go on, I have to pimp stuff, I have to promote stuff. Apparently that's a thing you have to do. We talked about it in the last talk. Tomorrow I'm doing another talk on the CPAN pull request challenge and how we've done it at CV Library. And my boss will get very, very grumpy if I didn't mention that CV Library is a Perl shop and we're hiring. And if you would like to come work at CV Library, come talk to me. And now my boss is happy. Okay, so it's going to be, hopefully, especially because we started late, this should finish nice and easy. So I'm going to give a talk about open source in the Olympic sport of judo. So this is supposed to be high-end Perl. In the sports world, there's nothing higher than the Olympic Games. And judo is an Olympic sport, so high-end Perl. I'm going to talk about open source, and then we'll have a little talk about a thing called Web Service Judo Base, which I've written just because I can. So, do we all know what judo is? Wow. Until I'm in Amsterdam. When I ask this question in other places, they go, what? They don't know what it is. They think it's like karate. So it's a Japanese sport. Anybody know who the guy in black and white is? Any Dutch people in here? No Dutch people. Yeah. Curses. So the guy at the top is a guy called, and I'll butcher it, Anton Geesink.
Getting going.
Yeah? All right. Very famous in our sport. He was the first non-Japanese, basically, to beat the Japanese. Guy at the bottom in the blue pajamas. That's not the technical term. There's Dennis van der Geest, who was, that's the World Championships, I think 2009. I think he's a dance DJ or something now, or a radio DJ. Apparently he's famous, but, you know. The interesting thing about it for me is I'm a member of the Perl community and I'm a member of the judo community. They have a lot in common. Judo is, it was the first big martial art in the world. So after World War II, or even before World War II, it was probably the biggest martial art in the world, and everybody says it's dying. There's this other thing that I'm involved with called Perl. Has some similar vibe to it. Equally, judo is still in the Olympic Games. It's, you know, judo people say it's the first sport to sell out every Olympic Games. Every single ticket gets sold at every single Olympic Games since it's ever been launched, including the last one, London, Rio, same deal. Bit like Perl. The reason I wanted to give this talk is because in judo, and there might be a pun in this, you can have a really big impact by writing software. I want to know what people think, both in terms of Perl and about sport, and I really want Perl people to get involved in sport. And I'll talk a little bit about why. That's a little guy called Shishima from Japan, absolutely about to cause somebody a very, very bad day. Yeah. So open source in judo. In judo, we have a mix of open and closed source software that we use. For example, in judo, we broadcast every single high-level event live on the internet and on TV, and we used, obviously, closed source software for that. There's some fairly big names, but we use a lot of open source software as well, and especially programming languages. And one of the reasons for that is because we do a lot of our own development. Judo is a niche sport compared to some of your bigger sports like the NFL or the NBA. So there's no big companies coming to us with products. We create stuff for ourselves because otherwise it doesn't get created. So we write a lot of our own tools. And one of the things that we're quite proud of, or I'm quite happy about, is we give a lot of that stuff away for free. So, for example, we'll talk about it later, but we give a lot of the stuff we write back to the judo community. The thing I'm not so proud about is the fact that I think our contribution to the world of open source that we use so heavily is virtually nil. So you won't find a lot of open source judo out there. There's some, but it's not as good as compared to what we create. So we use a lot of open source tech, and we don't give a lot of it back. And that's something some of us are really pushing hard to change. So, real quick, we'll go through some examples. Here's a Frenchman about to have a very bad day. So for me, it probably started with this piece of code, which you can't see because it's green on black. I did an academic research project into the trends around the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. Yeah, Beijing. I had to notate all these contests, and it got really hard, and it took forever, so I wrote a little Perl script that helped me do it. It wasn't very cool. So end cursors interface, blah, blah, blah. The other big granddaddy of our world is ipon.org, which is a website. It got started in 2001. It's PHP. It's still PHP. And the guy who writes it from Germany says the reason it's PHP and MySQL is because it's never crashed. Yeah, that's what it is. It looks like that today. I think that's the original design. That little comment at the bottom there, we give it away to every single federation. So anybody who wants it, you can get a copy of it, and you can use it for your competitions. And it does everything from the draw of which athlete's going to fight which athlete, information systems to say who's on next, what mat you should go to, how long will it be till my athlete's competing. It's all in there. We give it away for free. Unfortunately, the source is not. So we broadcast all our events. We stream them. We've been streaming them for, I don't know, probably almost 10 years now. And we have to do our own TV graphics. So the stuff you can see there, it's a little Node app in Electron now. It's had some iterations. All our scoreboards, which we write ourselves, you can see in the background up here. That sends UDP packets every time the scoreboard changes, every time the clock ticks over, it sends a little packet. And what we do is we listen for that, and we actually go pull some data get some data from database, and we put it on a green screen thing, and we put it on the TV. And that's, again, written in-house. Recently, we created judobase.org. It's PHP backend, HTML and JavaScript in the front end. And it's a general website, has basically every result of every competition in our sport at the highest level since 2009. Also has most of the videos that we've caught. And more importantly for me, it has an API. It's not a very well publicized API, but it does have an API. Again, we're not a big sport, so we don't have big companies coming to us and saying, here's our goal line technology. Or Hawkeye, if you know that from cricket in the UK. Yeah, they don't come to us and say, here you go. So we wrote our own. It's a little mix of C, so we got the drivers to talk to a little box H.264 recorder. A little bit of Node again, and we give the action replay 2 camera angles for the referees. And we've done some other stuff, like we've done a referee's USB stick that we give to basically every continental level referee, saying here are the good decisions, here are the bad decisions. Should this have been a score? Should it not? Was this a penalty? Was it not? And we give that away for free, and the easy way to do it was just a web page. This one's got a really nice picture. We take the video from every contest, and listening to the scoreboard again, we cut that video up and upload it to YouTube. Every single contest we run at the highest level, we upload now to YouTube, but it's available on our website, all that sort of good stuff. And it just runs in the background. And then we get back to the good stuff. Perl. Can you guess who wrote this one? Yes, me. We wrote a little thing. Again, we're not being hounded by these corporates, but we wrote a thing that listened to the Twitter hosepipe, pulled anything about an event. We use hashtags and all that trendy stuff. Dumped it into a database, little Dancer 2 app that went, hey, here are these tweets. Are they okay to go out in public? Tick, 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 tick. And then we wrote a little, actually it was Node, I apologize, app that would put it on the big Jumbotron. So in the venue, you could tweet, and then, oh, there's my tweet. I was really proud of that. And then also on the live stream, a little ticker across the bottom. So for one event we did, the World Judo Day, which was on the anniversary of the founder of Judo, we just had this tweet running all day for like 24 hours of just a little bit of cheesy music in the background. And people say, oh, I did this with my judo club. Yay. It was really nice. We also gave laptops to every national governing body in the whole wide world. So all those in Europe, like the Dutch Judo Federation is really rich. The Botswanan Judo Federation is not very rich. The Fijian Judo Federation is not very rich. So the IGF, the International Judo Federation, gave laptops to every single governing body with the ipon.org software on it so they could run their competitions. They were Windows laptops, and me and my friend went, is there not some issues about copying Windows machines and giving them away? Maybe we could do this better. And so basically, myself and a colleague spent one competition. While the competition was going on, we were sat in the corner with our laptops, and we installed Ubuntu. We put the software on. Went, oh, cool, that's it. We can clone this. It's Ubuntu. It's open source. We can do that. So every single national federation in judo is running Linux and open source, which is yay. More recently, what we've been getting into, because we now have this massive database of every result from all over the world, we're doing a lot of statistics. And I'm also a member, I'm also a member of a thing called the International Association of Judo Researchers who do academic research. And I go, hey, Lance, you get all these competitions, right? Yeah. And you're a geek, right? I go, yeah. I go, could you give me these stats on like how many penalties there were in this competition? And that's what this is. This is one I did for a guy doing his PhD. It's every competition that we have, how many penalties went to the person wearing the white pajamas, and how many went to the person wearing the blue pajamas. It's a nice little project. And the really weird thing was it found a bug in another piece of software. That's weird. Nobody in the blue suit got any penalties in those 5 competitions. Are they like the best players in the world or something? Oh, no, there's a bug. So it worked out okay. The other one that we're kind of proud of is, this is just the stupidest little, it's about this much Perl, where we go talk to the database, we say, hey, this competition, you want all the videos for your country? Okay, cool. Download them all, because we upload them all to YouTube, we download them all again, and we can give them a USB stick and say, here you go. Which sounds really silly and trivial, except again, some countries, the internet they don't have. So there's some countries where they just literally can't use YouTube. And it puts them in an unfair disadvantage in our eyes. That if I use, for example, North Korea. North Korean judo people are lovely people. They have some political people that I wouldn't say that about, perhaps. But they can't get on YouTube at all. So it puts them in a tactical disadvantage to the rest of the world because everyone else is watching every other fighter. The North Korean judo players can't watch the guy they're going to fight next week. So what we've done in the past for them is we've used this little tool and just pulled it all down and go, here you go. USB drive, all the videos of that competition, go crazy. It's a little thing, but really helpful. Which leads me nicely to something that I've dubbed Web Service Judo Base. So I ended up writing a lot of these little scripts for people. Say, oh, could you just do this? Could you just get that? And, oh, could you get this? But I want that other thing. So I've written a little service, a little module called Web Service Judo Base that just wraps our API, our incredibly public, yet not publicized at all API. And when you load it up, you can do stuff like this. So you can all read Perl, so I won't talk about it too much. Basically, 1455 is a magic number. I love magic numbers. That's the event ID for the 2017 European Championships in Warsaw. I want to get all the contests. So I thought in advance of this, I'd see, I want to find out all the Dutch people, because I knew there'd be lots of Dutch people in this room, which there's not that many, but anyway. So I wanted to know who fought for the Netherlands at the European Championships. So I can just get that really quickly. I just create the service, go, I want all the contests from this competition, and it's ID 1477. I'll do a little sneaky thing there to get all the athletes. So I just go through every single contest, and if they're from NED, from the Netherlands. I chuck them in a hash and then I get the keys out. And that looks like this. Why don't I jump across? There we go. So literally just does that. Okay, nice simple module for us. And the great tradition of Perl things that's going to be released are not today. But my plan is to upload it for CPAN Day so I look like a good citizen. What's been interesting about that is I have given the module to some people. There's some slightly techie people in the judo world. What I found interesting is that the researchers in universities are really comfortable saying, oh, actually, I just wanted this other thing, so I just changed it from penalties to scores, and it worked, thanks. That was really interesting because I didn't expect that. I thought I'd be doing all this maintenance stuff, but I guess it's the thing about our language is that they could just go, oh, I could just change this to this and it'll just work, right? So that's been really fun. So, great. I'd like to get a little bit of audience participation. So, what I'd like you to do is pick a sport. Just hold it in your mind. Pick any sport that you'd be interested in. It can't be football. Okay? Football is pretty much covered, okay, folks? So pick any other sport. Is that not working for me? Yeah. Preferably a sport you actually care about. Okay, got that in your head? Now what I want you to do is just think about what they need. So I can tell you almost every sport except for NFL, American football, basketball, and soccer. Sorry?
Baseball.
Baseball is probably covered, but funnily enough, outside of the US, not so much. They'll want software. They may not even know they want it. In the UK, for example, I'm involved with judo everywhere. They still run competitions on paper. I've been at training courses for competition officials where they say, don't use any of that computer stuff, do it on paper, because they're that low on the tech level. So they want competition information systems. What's happened here? A bit slow on the uptake. They want broadcast. Every sport wants to be on TV. Every sport should be on the internet. There's nice projects like the OBS, Open Broadcast System, that will let you stream live. They'll also want TV graphics. They want statistics. They want all these things. If you can give that to them, they will bite your hand off. There we go. They'll also want stuff like, if you really want to make some money, all the big sports, actually even the big sports, are into CRM in a big way at the moment. They want to engage with their fans. They want to know everything about the people who love that sport. So if you can do that, you can do something. And to be frank, it's actually the nice side of it as well. Like I do judo. We stream every single event online for free. We don't tell anyone. We don't have a way of telling all the judo fans in the world, hey, there's this competition this week. Tune in. We're getting there. We're building it. But if you built it for tiddlywinks or for, not soccer, but for baseball or for softball or cricket or whatever, they'll love it. And obviously they'll want websites, scoreboards, a lot of sports, especially at the lower level with the kids. You know, they're using those flippy card things and stuff. People will want that. And then if you really want to make some money, if you can help any sport, Olympic sport, winter or something, integrate with the Olympic data service or data system, one or the other. Every Olympic sport has been pressured, or not pressured, they've been invited to contribute their data to the Olympics, which means they have to format in a special way and publish it and interact with their systems. None of the sports know what they're doing. On the whole, if you can help with that, they'll bite your hands off. So, just to finish off, everyone in this room is a software developer, I'm guessing. Probably you're at Perl conference. Build something cool. Sports are desperate for cool stuff. And the really nice thing is they need it. Sports really, really need our help. They don't know it sometimes. Sometimes they do. But you can build something and they will use it. Bottom point's really important. If you're doing it for a niche sport, they probably don't have NFL or football money, but they might get you like ringside seats or put you in the box. Or for me, one of the things they say is you're on the bus. Like I've got to sit next to world champions and have them go, "Oh, hi, Lance, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yes." Highlight of your life, meeting your heroes. So you may not get paid for it. You might if you play your cards right, but you might be able to be part of that thing you really, really love. And you get to do it with something that you really, really love, which is Perl and writing software. So the reason I want to give this talk was to encourage anybody foolish enough to come along to get involved with sport. And if it's not sport, because I love sport, anything you do or you like, you can help them out as much as anything else. Thank you very much. Any questions? Oh, God, questions. No. That was a rhetorical question. Yeah, go on.
Did the PhD establish if it was better to wear the white or the blue suit? Or is it still ongoing?
Oh, that was a different PhD. That was somebody else's paper. My one was actually on if you did the athlete that did the most attacks, or if they won. It was based on the idea that if you watch, they talk about shots on goal and football and stuff. We don't have the same metric, and the result was maybe, like all good scientific research, they said more research required. But yes, a little bit. If you attack more, you win more.
Are they geese in Judo?
Geese, yeah. I'll check you out.
Yeah.
It was the PhD that you were providing data for.
Oh, that's an ongoing PhD. Okay. He's still trying to work out lots of stuff. Like all PhD students, he has this big question, and his advisor is quietly trying to do this to him. And every time he gets to here, he goes, "Oh, what about this?" Yeah.
You talk about not being open source because you don't give back to the development community.
Yeah.
But aren't you open source because you are actually giving it towards other federations? And I can imagine, for example, one of the websites that you've shown about statistics and blah. You can, as a judo federation, can give it to a rowing federation. More
yeah.
or less the same.
Kind of. For me, we won't talk about the PHP one because there's a thing where you can encrypt PHP source code, which is really weird. But for us, when I say we don't contribute back to we contribute back to the judo community pretty well. We're not very good at doing that in the way that as Perl developers or as developers generally. So we have a GitHub account. Most of our stuff goes on GitHub, but it's a private repository. Despite the fact the way we, say the TV graphics, for example, the way we distribute that is we give you the source code. But we'll give it to you on a USB stick or by email. And say, here you go, cool, just run this. But we don't have it in a public repo where you could just pull it down and improve it. Or just go, oh, that's really cool. Some sports are better at it. So, for example, swimming, I've done some work with some swimming TV graphics, which are really funky because they do that thing where they make it lay down on the lanes. And we're trying to do that in judo where we put the name of the athletes on the mats from a high angle and make it look really cool. And some of that's actually on GitHub, and I've been able to just pull it down and play with it and stuff. But as a community of judo geeks, for whatever reason, we've not been very good. We're very good at giving it away, but not sharing it in a way that makes it easy for collaboration.
Wouldn't it be easier to put it on the public repository?
Oh, hell yes.
Of giving USB sticks?
No, really, absolutely. And we're getting there, but it's a slow journey. And I'll be interested either now or afterwards if people have some thoughts on how to make that happen, because I struggle sometimes. It's like all things. Anytime you get a group of people in a room, there's politics. And if you get a bunch of people who might go to the Olympic Games and get to go to the next one's Tokyo for us, which is, you ever want to see some politics and flame wars, get involved with judo people trying to get to Tokyo in 2020. Or to Rio de Janeiro. Everybody wanted to go to Rio, so you get any group of people together and they have their own agendas and stuff. And I don't know if there's there's some politics, but there's also just, a lot of the people in judo, by the way, in our are not developers. They're not commercial developers. So sometimes they don't have the feel. So not many of them are Perl developers. I push Perl a lot for doing our prototypes. So they're not used to things like CPAN necessarily. You know, a lot of people who, like, we do everything from Visual Basic for apps with a VBA all the way up to Perl and back again. So there's a lot of stuff where people just don't have that culture of, I should just chuck it on GitHub and make it open. There's a lot of, oh, I've got this thing on my hard drive, you want a copy? Ah, cool, man. And a lot of just, oh, it doesn't work for me, how can I make it do this? So for example, we're an individual sport, but we also do a team event. And the process at the moment to convert the TV graphics is you go in and you alter the source code of the script, and you go, okay, team, and you change everything from individual to team. Really? And it's always the same way. You get the guy on Skype who you know does it, and you go get him on Skype and say, hey, how do I do this? I forgot. I did it last week. I can't remember. We haven't reached that point of maturity of actually going, oh, this is how you do it. Here's a wiki. Here's 2 versions. Here's a config file. It's still very much, I wrote this thing, man. Like, call me if you want some help because you're my friend, that sort of thing. It's not as good as I'd like. Yeah.
I have a suggestion. There is this sport which is not an Olympic sport yet, probably, but they are very ahead in all of this stuff which you just told. I mean, like computers, let's say in computer science, what you told. This is the gaming sport, and the suggestion would be they are really doing great in all of this stuff, like gathering data, collecting information, making statistics, like machine learning, and so on, so on. And one of the suggestions would be to look to the twitch.tv. There is the site for the live streaming, which they are using. They actually provide a lot of services, something like advertising for a lot of people that there is some event coming, and it would be a great idea, I think, to join all of the sports.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm a geek, so actually on Sunday before I flew here, I went to the Gfinity Rocket League Championships in London and was absolutely blown away. We also do an event, actually not the one in the photo, in Katowice, which is the biggest gaming esports event in the world. And my colleagues were saying, what the hell are they? What are they? I think we're in the same hall. And we arrived the day they were breaking down all this, but what was this, boxing or, you know, something massive? We go, no, this was like Call of Duty or something. And they're like, and the judo people just couldn't understand that they had this huge stadium for some guys playing video games. But yeah, I always talk to people about this, and Twitch is one of the ones we have got our eye on. Maybe we should try streaming on that and see how it goes.
Lots of stuff are generic requirements for all kinds of sports. So you
yeah, I think so.
Making a schedule for
yeah, and again, it would be interesting if we could get our software more generic so that we could benefit other sports. Because I know some of the other martial arts use our software directly. So things like Japanese Jiu-Jitsu in France and in the Netherlands use the same software because it's pretty close. So I think there's a lot of stuff. And we do have fairly close ties with some of the other sports. But again, really the IT team, the full-time staff of the International Judo Federation's IT team is one guy. The volunteer workforce of which I'm part of in the IT team is probably 4 or 5 people. And we're supporting an Olympic sport. So not last weekend, the week...
European-wide or worldwide?
Worldwide. Yeah. It's the way it is. So last weekend, the week before last, I was at a competition in Hungary, and my boss, the guy who's like he did nothing for the event at all because he was busy preparing the software for an event in 2 weeks, which is the World Championships, which are in Hungary. If anybody wants to go, it's very good. Anyone from Hungary? Go to the World Championships in Budapest in 2 weeks. It's very good. He was too busy writing the code to support that event because we have to make some changes because we're testing a new event format that's going into the Olympic Games. So it's like that sort of level of, you know, his office is basically late night in a sports stadium when everything else is going on. So it's very small. So that's why I think the people in this room and in this conference have this opportunity to have a huge impact, because it's like me and a couple of guys who write code for our entire sport at the moment. And then we pull other people in when we can, but it's like this. And I know every other sport is in the same boat, that they haven't got a lot of. There's a weird Venn diagram of geeks and people who do sport, and often they're not connected, but there's this little, very small group of people who are in both or care enough about both. And I think it's actually a bigger group than we think it is, but it's just pulling the people from the development world into the sports world and say, hey, you love rock climbing or BMX or skateboarding, I'm probably picking like the worst ones, sailing, whatever, get involved. Like, write something or go talk to them and just have a chat. One of the other lovely things about the sports world that I've discovered, it's like the Perl world, is you can just go talk to anyone in sport and in esports, actually. I just literally walked up to the guys at GFIN and said, hi, I do streaming, can you talk to me? And they were like, oh, cool, let me show you around. And sports like that as well. You can talk your way into almost any big sporting event just by saying, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing, can you show me some stuff? Because we're desperate to talk to people, because we're keen. Cool. Anything else?
We're expecting the slides that you are hiring for the next year.
I'm trying to get a job in sport. But no. Yeah, CV Library doesn't do anything in sports, sadly. But yeah. Cool. Okay, I'll let you all go. Please talk to me.